As everyone can see by looking out the window, we had additional snowfall last night, in some areas about 2 feet. The good news is it seems like the snow is stopped, and we have gone through the worst in terms of snowfall, and we will now turn to the snow removal without worrying about another imminent snowfall, which is the good news. As we've been discussing all week, this was going to be in stages, and we still believe we'll have challenges to deal with. There will be warming over the next couple of days. The warming will bring melting. Melting will bring water. Water will bring floods. How many and where, we can't tell you. We are preparing now for more flooding than we have seen in a long, long time. But it's hard to tell because we've never had this much snow and this much melting of this much snow in a short period of time. So we still have that challenge to look forward to. But snow removal is proceeding. To remove the snow, we have to move vehicles. To move vehicles, the vehicles need a place to go. And therefore, we're going to start lifting driving bans and opening roads primarily to move vehicles that are now blocking roadways and primarily to allow deliveries of essential services, health products, food deliveries to supermarkets, etc. When we are opening roads and lifting driving bans, we do not intend to signify all is fine, get in your car and go for a road, or do something that is non-essential. Please, we are saying the opposite. The opening of the roads is to move vehicles that are blocking roads and to allow trucks to come in to make essential deliveries. If you have a non-essential purpose, now is not the time to be driving around. The roads are still very dangerous. You should expect a lot of blockages as the plows are working, as vehicles are becoming unstuck. So if at all possible, if it is non-essential, again, stay in your homes. The following state roads will be opening at 3 o'clock today. Again, for essential travel, the 190, the 290, the 219, and the 400. Along those roads, local exits may be closed. So do not get on that road if you are expecting to get off at a local exit, because many of the local exits will still be closed. Again, the purpose of opening the road is so that trucks that want to leave the area can leave the area. Those roads were the 190, the 290, the 219, and the 400. That's 3 o'clock, essential travel. Expect some of the local exits to be closed. The thruway at 3 o'clock will be opening in parts, again for the same purpose, to move trucks and vehicles from the area. From exits 46 to 50, the thruway will be open. From 51 to 61, the state line, the thruway will be open, but the local exits will be closed. So it will be entrances only from 51 to 61, but assume if you get on and you are headed west, you can't get off until Pennsylvania. That's at 3 o'clock also. Entrances open, exits will be closed. From 51 to 61, the rest areas will be open, but that's it. The exits will be closed. We'll have more updates on road openings and closings as we go along. But today is going to be about, again, a massive deployment of snow removal equipment, National Guard is bringing in more people to relieve some of the people who've been working for days. We have additional equipment coming in today. I should tell you that the neighboring communities have been extraordinary in their generosity in terms of person power and equipment. Rochester, Syracuse, Onondaga County, Monroe, just all the neighboring communities that you can imagine. They just said, what do you need and when do you need it, and we'll get it to you. It really has made me proud and has been heartwarming to see how generous New Yorkers are and how New Yorkers come together at times of need. We have equipment coming up from as far away as Suffolk, Nassau, and New York City. And we want that equipment to be able to come in and do their work, and that's why we're trying to keep people off the roads. Also, I spoke to the White House yesterday. The President himself sends us his best wishes. He was concerned with the situation. The situation was on the national news. So people have been calling in all across the country to my office inquiring about Buffalo and the well-being of Buffalonians and how they can help. I spoke yesterday with the White House about possible federal aid and FEMA. FEMA and the federal government want to be helpful. They've expressed that. We still need to see what the total damage amount is because there are still legal thresholds for FEMA, somewhere in the $23 million, $27 million range, which I believe we may very well meet, unfortunately. But let's finish the situation before we make that determination. And let's find out what's happening, what happens with the flooding and how extensive that is, and what kind of damage and cost we incur through the flooding. And then we'll have more information and we can start to do assessments, individual homes, local governments, and have a concrete conversation with FEMA. But the President wanted us to know that he's thinking about us and he cares about us and he wants to be helpful any way that they can. So that was very good news. With that, let me turn it over to County Executive Mark Poloncarz, and then we'll hear from Mayor Byron Brown.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Governor. And I sincerely, as I've said it repeatedly, appreciate all the efforts on behalf of the state, whether it's the state DOT, the Thruway, the National Guard, state police, and all the other state agencies which have created a tidal wave, so to speak, of people who have come into our community to address this storm. We know there are more than 5,000 individuals right now in our community working to deal with this storm, which was a significant storm, which unfortunately, as we've said, has taken lives, and as we confirmed just recently, 13 lives. You sometimes wonder what happens in a major situation like this, how we'd respond, and I'd like to thank the people of this community for responding very well, especially all of the first responders, the Department of Public Works officials, volunteer fire, paid fire, and law enforcement. They've done a tremendous job. And like the Governor said, I do want to thank our counterparts from across New York State. I've met people from Binghamton, Schenectady, Long Island, Albany, Rochester, who are working hand in hand with us to try to alleviate this issue. Erie County itself, the government, owns 1,200 centerline miles of roads, which means there's 2,400 lane miles that we have to take care of. And based on the estimates from our Department of Public Works, we think that 1,800 of those miles have been impacted. So when people ask when are we going to get to the residential streets, they have to understand we have 1,800 miles of county roads, which generally do not include residential streets, that we have to open so we can get to those secondary roads and then get to those residential roads. And we are doing it. I feel very good about where we are with regards to major arterial roads, county roads, and major DOT roads and city and town roads in all of our communities. But we know there's still problem areas. We know there's still vehicles that are abandoned. And we have to remove those vehicles from many of these roads before we can actually get into some of the side streets and the residential streets. So I just want to let the public know we're working very hard. We have many, many people, not only from local, but who've come in from across the state, who are at our disposal. And we will get through this storm, and we will get through this well. And I want to thank the people of Erie County who've actually gone through some very difficult times, I know we're getting a little stir crazy in their home, but have generally heeded all of our warnings, stayed off the roads, done what was necessary to allow us to do our work to clean up the roads, but also we relied on them to check on neighbors, especially seniors who may have been running out of medicine or did not have food because there's been no Meals on Wheels deliveries for 3 days. So I want to thank the people of Erie County for stepping up to the plate and delivering for their neighbors as well. There's a reason why the city of Buffalo is called the City of Good Neighbors, and the same can be said for the county, because it showed during the storm, because each and every one of the residents of Erie County, including those who are not in the impacted areas, heard the call, stepped up, and are addressing this issue. It's going to take a little bit more time to clean out every road in our community, but I do want to thank everyone for their support as we've gone through what is truly one of the worst storms that I can remember. The best description of it was made by our Department of Public Works Commissioner, John Lafredo. John's a wise sage. He's worked for various authorities, including in 1977, he was in and with the city of Buffalo and its Public Works Department. John said this was like a mini blizzard of 77. In the areas that were impacted by the storm with the worst amount of snow was actually worse than the blizzard of 77. But thankfully, this storm did not hit the entire community like the blizzard of 77 did. So people who remember the blizzard of 77, if you compare what happened here to what happened then, in the worst hit areas, it was actually worse with this storm that we're calling Winter Storm Knife than it was in the blizzard of 77. So I want to thank everybody for their patience in getting through this. We will get through it. Now we have to be prepared for the flooding. There will be flooding in all likelihood starting on Sunday, and a flood risk in certain communities all the way through Tuesday. So we're asking people, once again, no unnecessary travel. Even if a travel ban has been lifted in your community, and some driving bans have been lifted and will continue to be lifted over the next few hours and days. Be careful, no unnecessary travel, especially if the flooding should occur. Viaducts are at risk. We fully expect some low areas to have 5 to 6 feet of water in a very short period of time. So we're asking for no unnecessary travel, even if a driving ban has been lifted. Thank you. Mayor?
I too want to thank the governor for his help in our community dealing with this very difficult storm. I want to thank Governor Cuomo for being here on the ground for 3 consecutive days in Buffalo, Erie County, and Western New York. We made significant progress in South Buffalo, the impacted area of the city of Buffalo. Overnight, we were able to get into 93% of the residential streets with a first pass. With state assistance, we now have over 220 pieces of snow removal equipment in South Buffalo working as we speak. City crews, state crews, National Guard, and private contractors that are all working. It has been a massive effort. We now have carted over 1,600 trucks that have carted over 32,000 tons of snow out of South Buffalo. I also, like the governor and county executive polling cars, want to thank the people of Buffalo and Western New York for their great cooperation, for stepping up, for looking out for each other, helping each other, and heeding the instructions that we've given them to be able to deal with this storm and recover from the storm. I also want to thank so many of the elected officials across the state, nation, and internationally that we have heard from that have offered support. I want to thank my colleague mayors, Mayor Lovely Warren from Rochester, Mayor Sheehan from Albany, Mayor de Blasio from New York City, mayors in Canada, Mayor Deister from Niagara Falls, Mayor Minor from Syracuse, all who have offered significant assistance. As you've heard from Governor Cuomo and County Executive Poloncarz, more work to do. The next area of concern is flooding. We're asking people in the areas that may experience flooding to remove items from your basements, to unplug items that are in basements that could take on water. If you are coming down into your basement and you see water on the floor, do not go into the basement. Call for assistance. If there is the potential of items that are still plugged in and there is water, please call 911. Again, I want to thank Governor Cuomo for his tremendous assistance and focus on helping Buffalo, Erie County, and Western New York through this storm. Thank you very much, Governor.
Thank you. Any questions for the mayor, county executive, myself? The National Guard will go wherever they are deployed, and we are deploying based on need, coordinating with the county and the city. We basically have a joint task force, and the prioritization is just by need. Again, public safety and public health first, before convenience, if you will, right? Because literally this is a situation where we've had 13 deaths. It's a matter of life and death, literally. So it's public health, public safety, and that has been the basis for the prioritization. But wherever they are needed, the resources will go. Yeah, it's a good question. My position is they are one event. The flooding is going to be a direct consequence of the snow, and I think it's to our advantage for it to be considered one event, and then we can, when we do the damage assessment to meet the FEMA threshold, add up the cost and the damage from the snow itself and the flooding. We hope the flooding damage is at a minimum, but we would put those costs together, and this would be one incident as far as we're concerned. First, I believe they have been seeing plows already. They will be seeing more, obviously, today and tomorrow. We have more equipment coming in. But again, the prioritization was public health and public safety. And there was a driving ban in effect. So clearing roads where you didn't have a public safety or a public health concern really didn't make sense as a first priority, because there was a driving ban in effect, which means those people shouldn't have been leaving the houses anyway. And where you had a health safety concern, health facility, we're now doing roads that would be leading to grocery stores so they can get supplies, so people can get food. That's been the basis for the prioritization. I understand a person looks out their window and they say, what are they talking about clearing roads? My road isn't cleared, right? And until my road is cleared, I really don't care what other roads you cleared. I understand that. But there had to be a prioritization given the situation, and obviously health, safety, and then essential services. We have special personnel who can help and are trained just in that area. They did a lot of good work yesterday. Just as a matter of precaution, if you hear noises, very often a roof doesn't just collapse. You will hear creaking, groaning. You'll hear noises in the home suggesting that the roof is under stress or the building is under stress. If you hear any of those sounds, you should contact authorities immediately and be prepared to leave the structure immediately, obviously. Well, we haven't found that yet, and it's going to be building by building. Just because a building has a flat roof doesn't mean there's necessarily going to be a problem, certainly. And if there's any question, we will have the building inspected. We're also bringing in other inspectors from around the state so we can handle a large number of inspections. And if there's any question, obviously, we wouldn't open the school unless we're sure the school is safe. I would have to check, but I can tell you I spoke to all our neighboring states, and it was really, with all the bad news that we've been giving you over these days, and we haven't really had a lot of good news to report, the one bright light to me has been the response and the love that people have been showing to Buffalo and Western New York. And everyone says the same thing. What do you need, and when do you need it? And whatever you need, you have, period. I mean, they're the shortest phone calls I've ever had. I say Buffalo, they say whatever you need, just tell me, and that's it. And literally dozens of local governments. You'll see the signs on the trucks. You're going to see trucks in here from all over the state and from our neighboring states.
I cannot speak as to whether the individual who was unfortunately found deceased in the vehicle in the town of Cheektowaga is the same missing report from the family. We are hopeful there are not. As I said, since the beginning of the storm, volunteer fire and police in almost every community, and I know in the city of Buffalo as well, when they were trying to get through a lot of these communities, they would check on vehicles to see if anybody's in there, if they needed to get out. I'm hopeful there is not. I wish I could say here today, Rachel, that no, there's not a single one of these vehicles with a potential deceased person in them, because I don't know. We know there's, as we said, there were hundreds and hundreds, probably over 1,000 vehicles that were abandoned during the storm across Erie County. And there are still roads that we have not been able to get to where those cars are on. And once we get to them, we, of course, check the vehicle. If the vehicle, of course, is unoccupied, immediately tow it and move it out of there. I don't know if the answer that I'd like to be able to say is no, we're never going to deal with this again, but there is a possibility. I was hopeful we wouldn't have a scenario like this when we were thinking about what would happen during the recovery phase. We talked about it actually amongst ourselves last night. It would not be a surprise to have one or two vehicles turn out to have a deceased individual in it, and it happened this morning. I hope it's the last one, but I can't say yes or no.
Can I comment on that too?
Mayor?
Just on that point, like the county, city firefighters and police officers are doing welfare checks. They're checking on senior citizens. They're checking on persons where families have said, I have not heard from my family member. We had one report of a missing person in the city of Buffalo yesterday, a 75-year-old woman, and later in the evening we were able, through one of those welfare checks, to find her at home in good condition. So other than that, there are no other missing person reports in the city of Buffalo.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We'll have a briefing this afternoon.